Guys, let's continue with the topic that yesterday. Remember, I talked about several features of fraud equilibrium. And so let's continue with that. Today it's a good weather, so usually when the weather is nice, I feel better and then more energetic and then come up with new ideas. So I'm arguing today is that the basically what I'm doing this I spend the time. I'm not a college professor. I f- barely have a few paper published. But why am I doing this? I think the key is the constructive criticism, constructive critical thinking. Okay, so you're not just raising the problems, but you think of it as some better solutions. At least you hope it's better solutions, right? So that's why it's not for myself. I'm just feeling that the academia in this country and basically in the world, they could be more productive. Okay, if they change their mindset. So here again is a good example of the mindset matters. The a lot of people are the smartest people in the world, but they are underachiever. To say that politely that they could be more productive. The thing is that I'll come back later to the existing system, the culture among the academia, the kind of a inbreeding, like citing each other, and instead of focusing more on the reality. Um, that need to be changed. Hopefully, with the new changes in the generative AI, with the change the demand of a higher education, we probably won't need so many professors. And then, but more importantly, that how do they do the research, academic research? Basically, a lot of academia, they live in the world of themselves. They live in the ivory tower. They cite each other, they follow each other, but not that when they really should pay attention to what's in reality. Okay, so that's just some sideline. We'll come back to this later. But for now, I think the features that I presented yesterday about the fault equilibrium can be meaningful new way of thinking. Okay, the first one, let's think about the first one. We're talking about, the fault equilibrium. They allow more inclusive players. The AJR talk about inclusive institutions. It's sad to see that their theoretical framework is not it's nothing but inclusive. Okay, they could have done a better job. Even though the idea of having an inclusive institution is good, but let's see. Let's consider what it takes to have an inclusive institution. The number one thing that we need to do is to have more inclusive players to participate in the game. In other words, you need inclusive players in the game in order to have inclusive institutions. Okay, so by including uh, both both players with a high stake and the marginal stake in the game, and then we can make it the game more lively, more dynamic, more uncertainty. Okay, because those people, they're not a lot of the marginally involved people. They are passive, but they need to be moved by people with a strong beliefs, strong preferences. And then so that is, the whole thing make the whole thing like a marketing. Well, that's why I explained why the Trump was succeeded to winning the election, because he did a better job in marketing, especially speaking a language, that the people can understand, the ordinary people can understand. Okay, so that's the thing that we need to, the first thing that we need to do that. The second thing about the fault equilibrium is that we no longer assume that everybody, every players, especially in the U.S., okay, American players, we don't assume that everybody is trying to maximize their self-interest. That is nothing wrong, but we have to introduce a dual objective functions. Okay, so for a lot of American, they want to maximize their self-interest, but meanwhile they also look for justice to all. That's we talked about this yesterday, JTA. Okay, that's what in a way separate the American culture, American mindset with from the others. Okay, um, and that plays a very important role. That's also again makes the institutional outcome less certain. That's why again also weakening the institutional stability. Okay, make the institutional less stable because we have people who are looking for not only maximizing their own interest but also they have a sense of justice for all, justice to all. Otherwise, how would you explain that the jury system, right? You would be, that you want to participate in the jury because you have something that you believe that the justice should be serving everybody. Okay, even though the matter is not a concern yourself matter, but you can participating in the system. So that's one thing. Also increase the institutional instability. The number three feature is that we have to move the game forward. You keep the game updating, even though the competition may involve the same players, the same parties. Okay, like in the American system, we pretty much we have a Democrat, we have a Republicans all along, but the game is changing. So the problem with the NIE, new institutional economics, is that the conceptual immobility. There's a very good metaphor, a story that there's one guy in the old ancient China, and he was everybody's wearing the sword, right? And then he accidentally dropped that sword in the while in the boat crossing the river, and then he said, "Okay, I need to carve this place out," and so he asked for a knife and cut it on the edge of the boat. He says, "Okay, remember, my sword is dropped from this spot." Okay, and then of course that's ridiculous because when you cannot cross the river twice, cross the same river twice because the river is moving. So by the time he reached the other side, he he go down. Okay, my sword is from here. I found my sword from this spot. Of course, that's a failure. So conceptual immobility is one of the things that are really damaging the NIE. Okay, and then the last one, the number four, is that we have to ask the question that if A causes B, and what causes A? So in our case, if you know, I remember that there's a title of the article that by AJR. They're saying institutions as a fundamental cause of long-term growth. Okay, so obviously, if you look at the title, they were not the totally determinism or reductionism because they're saying institutions is one of the fundamental causes. Okay, if the title is like institutions as the fundamental cost for the long-term economic growth, then that's more. But if you read the article, and the detail, the devil is in the details. If you read the article, you see they spend lot of time, or not too many times. They more casually shoot down the theory on the culture, the theory on geography. Okay, and then basically created the impression that institutions really the only thing that matters. for those, thinking, you have the key is to ask yourself, if A costs B, what costs the A? If institution costs the growth, what costs the institutions? We'll come back to this later because I try to keep the video short.